What's up guys, here are my predictions for UFC Vegas 17 happening this Saturday. An amazing card, one of the best fight night cards on paper, even with Leon Edwards vs Hamza Chimaev getting pulled from the card. So many fights to look forward to this. In fact, I would say most of the card is something that most fans are going to be interested in. The fight I have my eye on is Tafon Chukwi versus Jamie Pickett. That is definitely not going to last that long. Both guys are extremely explosive. Chukwi is only 26 years old, only 4-0 as a professional MMA fighter, but he is already displaying great amounts of technique, great awareness in the cage, and whenever he's in there, he's super composed. I mean, this is a guy to really look forward to. He might be one of the future fighters of the light heavyweight division. Jamie Pickett is very sneaky, extremely quick and long. That should be a very entertaining fight. Ayman Zahabi versus Draco Rodriguez is a really good fight. Anthony Pettis is taking a step down in competition, fighting Alex Morono. Of course, Marcin Tybura versus Greg Hardy is going to be wildness. A step up in competition for Greg Hardy. He might be outgunned technically, but he does have the power advantage. Marcin Tybura doesn't have the best chin. Anything can happen in that heavyweight fight. Jillian Robertson versus Tyler Santos is a very good fight as well, but we are going to start with Marlon Moraes versus Rob Font. This is a big opportunity for Rob Font to really showcase his skills and climb the division. Marlon Moraes is not doing too well as of late. He's coming off a loss against Corey Sandhagen. He barely beat Jose Aldo, which is a fight that a lot of people thought Jose Aldo won, and he lost to Henry Cejudo before that. His last emphatic and clear-cut victory was against Assunção almost 2 years ago. And he's taking a little bit step down in competition to fight Rob Font, who's a very good boxer, very crafty in the cage, decent movement, and very respectable Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. But for the most part, he might be outgunned or lack a bit of versatility to handle someone like Marlon Moraes. Even though Rob Font is clearly the better boxer, he's going to be longer in there, he has decent power, he has good hand speed, very good combinations, extremely good at going to the body, which is going to be a key factor for him to start working the cardio of Marlon Moraes. But here's the thing, man, Rob Font doesn't check kicks that well, doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, he's not as powerful, ultimately not as fast, he doesn't kick a whole lot, he's not very good against just general kicks from the body to the head and especially to the legs. If Marlon Moraes fights composed and showcases just decent fight IQ, he should be able to defeat someone like Rob Font 100%. The leg kick is going to be a huge factor, probably the most important part of this entire fight regarding both parties here. And on the ground, I don't think Rob Font is going to be able to hang with someone like Moraes unless Moraes starts to get tired. You also have to note, this is a 3-round fight, which is again going to favor Marlon Moraes. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Moraes, and I'm going to go by a decision win. I think he's going to chop down that leg. I think he's going to take down Rob Font a couple times, avoid the boxing. Only real punches he's going to be throwing out there are counter big hooks, but then tries to transition right into takedowns afterward. And then we go to the wild fight of 2020, Michel Pereira versus Khaos Williams. This is a meme fight. This is either going to be hilariously explosive, or it could be a bit of a dud, which I don't think it will. Due to Michel Pereira refusing to put on a boring fight, always tries to do something crazy in the cage, and Khaos Williams has absolutely insane power. When he touches you, you just go. Moving backwards, moving forward, you can look on the regional scene. This guy's had power his entire career, one-punching everybody. It's a reason why it's hard to trade with him. Many fighters try to overwhelm him because he's a bit patient on the outside. He kind of waits for a lot of things, and for some reason, opponents try to overwhelm him. They try to overpower him, but that trading ends very quickly, man. Khaos Williams has a very precise right straight. He has sneaky left hooks, and ultimately, he doesn't have the most educated defense. Tends to keep his chin up sometimes and lower his hands when he throws punches. He only needs one shot, and his speed is enough to get in there before his opponents can. But is he fast enough? Is he explosive enough to counter someone like Michel Pereira, who has way better movement? He's much bigger, walks around at 210 pounds, which is insane for a welterweight. Michel Pereira also has better takedowns, he's better on the ground entirely, better kicks entirely. Actually, if he sticks to the basics like he did against Zalim Imadaev, he is actually better technically when he sticks to striking fundamentals. His movement alone is generally a better defensive mechanism than anything Khaos Williams really has, besides the fact that he can knock you out with one punch, right? Khaos Williams tends to get out of situations because of his power, because of his speed, and also because he has a decent chin as well. But Michel Pereira is the hardest striker Khaos Williams has ever fought in his entire career. But the biggest thing that throws a wrench into all of this and leaves this fight to be extremely unpredictable is the fact that you never know how Michel Pereira is going to fight. You don't know what he's going to do out there. You don't know if he's going to try to actually win the fight, focus on winning instead of putting on a show, or he does what he did in his last fight, sticks to the basics a little bit, and once he got his opponent hurt, that's where he started to showboat a little bit, get into the opponent's head, and take advantages because of it. The best approach for him to start showboating in a fight is to earn that opportunity. When he fights smart and gets the opponent hurt, gets on frustrated or something like that, that's where his showboating is really going to start taking good effect in the fight. But again, you never know. If he's going to be wild in there and do crazy stuff, he might gas himself out. One punch from Khaos Williams, and that's pretty much it. But Pereira is the more technical fighter. He has much more variety, he's much more versatile, he's much more athletic. He has so many things going for him in this fight. Besides the fight IQ part, you would usually tend to think that unpredictability tends to be an advantage in a fight. But for Pereira, it's almost always been a disadvantage. Not even in the UFC, you can look before the UFC. Generally, this type of stuff that he does doesn't get him the kind of wins he's looking for. And Khaos Williams is not the guy to try that stuff on early. So I don't know who I'm going to pick in this one. It's very hard to choose. I think Khaos Williams is more consistent. He definitely has the ability to knock out Pereira at any given moment. Pereira exposes himself when he moves forward sometimes, and that leaves counter-punching openings for Williams to connect through. But if Pereira fights smart, I would definitely go with him. You know what? My prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Michel Pereira. I might regret making that decision. I'm leaning towards him fighting smart early for the first 2 rounds or so, and then showboating a little bit in the 3rd round and going crazy. If he does that, I do see many pathways for him to win this fight. He could take it to the ground, he could strike from a distance, use his leg kicks, use his side kicks to the knee and stuff like that, stay away from Williams, who tends to be a little bit patient. Williams is not super aggressive in fights, and if he goes forward against Pereira so early, he's not going to find the target that well. So I'm going to go with Michel Pereira, and I'm going to go by a 3rd round TKO. And then we go to the co-main event. Jose Aldo versus Marlon Vera. This is a big fight, man. This is the biggest opportunity of Marlon Vera's entire career. This is what Sean O'Malley wanted, right? Marlon Vera's pretty much taken what Sean O'Malley was hoping for. But man, this is going to be a very difficult fight for both guys, to be honest. Marlon Vera is very defensively savvy. Jose Aldo is very offensively savvy if you allow him to work on you. That's the problem with Marlon Vera coming in this fight. He's not super pressuring. He doesn't put volume on opponents. He tends to allow them to work around the cage a little bit, and whenever you allow Jose Aldo to do that, he tends to take over the fight. Look at all of Jose Aldo's biggest losses besides Conor McGregor, who has a complete different style to Marlon Vera. Long-range boxer with good counter punches, very athletic, all that stuff. Marlon Vera is more of a kicker and doesn't have the same kind of movement that Conor McGregor has. So I think Conor's a little bit of an outlier in this aspect. Look at Jose Aldo losing to Max Holloway twice. Look at him lose to Petr Yan. These guys put the pace on him a bit, and not only put on the pace, but they just had a presence in front of him. They were always there. No matter what he did, no matter how much he wanted to get away from them, no matter how much he tried to knock them out, all that stuff, they had a strong presence in the fight in front of him, which tends to make him very antsy in the fight, tends to make him very easily baited, and react heavily to very small movements, and force Jose Aldo to gas out in the fight. Ultimately using good retreats off of their boxing, good exits from the combinations, a lot of feints, forcing Aldo to throw things out there just to further gas himself, and ultimately putting a lot of pressure on him. These are things that Marlon Vera does not do at all. Marlon Vera likes to stay on the outside, kick at the legs, kick at the body, move around a bit with the opponent, move away from a lot of strikes. Very good at blocking punches and very good at checking kicks. But what you tend to see from him is he kind of stays in a defensive mode for most of the fight, and that is just not good going to a fight with Jose Aldo. Aldo also has very good takedowns when he goes to them, very good trips. Blast double leg is really underrated, and on the ground, I don't know if Vera can really hang with Jose Aldo there as well. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go Jose Aldo. I think he's going to take over the fight a little bit. I don't think he's going to knock on Marlon Vera at all. Vera is very tough, and again, defensively savvy enough to get away from a lot of strikes, but ultimately not putting on his own kind of output, own kind of offense onto Jose Aldo. If he does so, if he goes forward a little bit and puts some pressure on Aldo, man, it would really impress me from Vera. But ultimately, I'm going to go Jose Aldo. I'm going to go by a decision win. I don't think it's going to be the most entertaining fight. I think Aldo will do enough to win it, like he used to do when he was the champion, given his recent losses. And then we go to the main event. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Geoff Hands of Steel Neal. This is an exciting fight, man. A lot of power, a lot of speed, and a lot of trickery to them, more so than Wonderboy. Wonderboy is still a one-of-a-kind fighter in MMA. The way he strikes, the way he switches stances, the way he moves around the cage. Even given his age at 37 years old, he still seems like a younger fighter when he's in there. He's not really slowing down at all, to be honest, and he's still displaying a lot of athleticism for his age. And when you look at Geoff Neal, he's coming in fights like he's the vet. He's extremely composed in fights, not allowing things to get to him that quickly. Able to even come back after getting hurt, like when he fought Nico Price. There really isn't any big X factor coming into this fight. It's just straight down to skills. Stephen Thompson is a karate fighter for the most part. Long range striker, likes to stick on the outside a bit. Very good kicker and good counter puncher. Where Geoff Neal kind of does everything. He puts on a lot of pressure on opponents, and that's what generally we're going to see in this fight, given that Stephen Thompson likes to move backwards. Geoff Neal is going to put a lot of pressure on Wonderboy and test a lot of that counter punching skill, especially with his lightning quick combinations. He headhunts a bit, but he will go to the body. He will kick to the body as well. And with his great amount of pressure, he's going to take a lot away from Wonderboy Thompson. But man, Wonderboy is an extremely tricky fighter. He has great feints, great traps, moves in certain directions just to make you follow him into certain kicks. His orthodox stance is different than his southpaw stance entirely, actually. When he's in his orthodox stance, he tends to be more punch heavy. He's looking more for counter punches. He squares up to the opponent a little bit more, and he uses his hands at different kind of movements, smaller steps, smaller movements just to get away from punches or slip on punches to counter with his right hand or left hook or even left uppercut. When he goes into southpaw, he's a lot more kick heavy, and his stance is very sideways. Always ready to lift up that lead leg to side kick the opponent or go over the top with it, or he throws a left round kick or spins in that stance. Now both stances are very vulnerable to light kicks, from side kicks to round kicks, but his orthodox stance is way more susceptible to light kicks because he puts more weight on his front foot. When he's in a southpaw stance, notice how he's always lifting his lead leg up, ready to kick with it, ready to counter kicks and all that stuff. He will be able to lift his lead leg over the light kick and counter with a side kick. When he's an orthodox, there's a lot of weight that he's putting on his lead foot, not allowing him to move away from kicks and check him that effectively. He just generally doesn't have a sense to check light kicks at all, and that is a big weapon going for Geoff Neal in this fight. The thing that Geoff Neal cannot do though is rush with combinations from a distance like he did against Mike Perry, because he will absolutely get countered if Wonderboy's in orthodox or he switches into orthodox backwards, which he can absolutely do in a blink of an eye. You never rush Wonderboy Thompson. This is something that Johnny Hendricks, Robert Whittaker, Patrick Cote, all these guys learned very quickly. But here's the thing going for Geoff Neal. He has one of the most educated boxing styles in the whole welterweight division. General tight guards with a great ability to control space using his lead hand, combining with non-telegraphed explosive punches. The guy's always dangerous in every single position. Moving backwards, moving forward, laterally, off any kind of punches, countering moving forward, countering moving backwards. The guy is always ready to deliver power, especially because of how explosive and fast he is. He has some of the greatest hand speed in this entire division, and that is saying something when you talk about the welterweight division. Geoff Neal also has a style that can absolutely deal with everything Wonderboy throws in singular attacks. This is not Wonderboy throwing combinations. Every single singular attack Wonderboy throws, Geoff Neal has a style that can absolutely deal with any of them. It's the combinations combined with some of the unpredictable movement for Wonderboy that can really get to Geoff Neal. But in terms of offense, Wonderboy has great angles to his striking, but Neal arguably even has greater angles of in-front attacks than Wonderboy, given his different kind of angular punches. He has more variety to his punches, from in-tight and far-range overhands and uppercuts to straights to different kind of hooks, and even your basic kicks from fronts to rounds. As of lately, maybe due to age, Wonderboy has generally stuck to his more comfortable set of straight punches and side round and spinning kicks. He's not really throwing as many hooks or uppercuts and stuff like that. He's generally trying to counter with straight punches a little bit more, or find openings with straight punches a little bit more. Maybe sometimes trying to set things off of a left hook, but his kicks generally are side, round, and wheel kicks for the majority of them. If Neal focuses on the center midsection for the side kicks, outer head section for the round and spinning kicks, while parrying and slippy punches, we may actually see Geoff Neal neutralize Wonderboy's entire offensive striking game. But this is only if he breaks it all down simply. With a ton of forward and lateral pressure, Wonderboy's attacks using kicks will be far more limited. Actually, Wonderboy tends to up his punch count more in relation to his usual neutral ground punch to kick differential, even though he has a style to kick while even moving backwards while getting pressured. And this is a lot more lately in his career, and it might be due to his age a bit. He's not as comfortable, maybe because of bad knees and stuff like that. He's not as comfortable kicking while moving backwards like he used to. And this is perfect for Geoff Neal's specific hard pressure and high octane boxing style to establish off a jab or even even a first-time counterpunch to whatever Wonderboy tries to create space with, and then chain quick, powerful combination and bursts. But the thing is, Neal would have to counter every single kick from Wonderboy with a punishing leg kick to stop the most problematic thing for him. That is the first phase of entering into space and dealing with the movement and spring of Wonderboy's counterpunches while he's moving away. Wonderboy is going to try to intercept Geoff Neal's pressure with a first kick. Geoff Neal has to find a way to get around that kick by blocking, parrying, and then countering it with a leg kick so he can start his pressure a lot more safely. You can generally think of Geoff Neal's striking defense as a more layered Tyron Woodley. They both display great and tight general guarding with great slips for counterpunches. Woodley so much that Wonderboy could even land effective kicks throughout 10 rounds of their fights, and that was as Woodley was allowing Wonderboy to control the space. You know how dangerous it is to let someone as versatile and as fast as Wonderboy to control space against you. It's crazy to allow that to happen, but still Woodley was dealing with it very effectively. People also point to the fact that, Woodley had the wrestling aspect that Wonderboy was really respecting, and that could be a huge aspect of it as well. But even when Wonderboy was throwing his kicks, his high kicks and body kicks and all that stuff, Woodley was able to block and parry them very effectively. Now imagine Woodley's striking style, who moves forward with tremendous pressure while keeping the same defense but on the move, while also not only throwing an overhand right, throwing every punch in the book and throwing combinations with them with a very similar amount of power and a great amount of speed as well. That's generally what Geoff Neal can showcase in this fight, but that's asking for a perfect game plan, a perfect execution of that game plan from Geoff Neal, and I don't know if he can absolutely get to that. But my prediction for this fight is very tough to call. I've seen Geoff Neal make some questionable decisions in fights. Wonderboy has as well, but usually Wonderboy tends to get caught because he's out of position, right? Against Darren Till, but that's also due to his knee injury that Darren Till actually injured. Against Tyron Woodley a few times, against Anthony Pettis. Whenever he gets hit clean, he tends to be out of position. For a split second, that's scary due to how loose he always is in a fight. He's generally not tensing up when he sees punches coming. He's just trying to move out of the way from them. Now, that's good for him to be elusive in the fight, but if he gets caught once, man, his body's like not really prepared to take the blow yet, which generally causes him to get dropped, but he has a great ability to recover. I think he would have a better display of a chin if he was a little bit more marauding, a little bit more tensed up in the fight, but Geoff Neal's so quick. If he catches Wonderboy out of position, this can be done very quickly. In fact, Geoff Neal may be the most dangerous guy to be out of position for Wonderboy because of the fact that Geoff Neal will not give him any opportunity to recover in the fight. His bursting of combinations is just going to overwhelm or hurt Wonderboy. It will finish him off 100%. There's not one big shot like against Tyron Woodley and Woodley trying to find bigger shots, singular attacks to take him out. Geoff Neal is going to hit him, he gets hurt, and then here comes 5 punches in like half a second. Wonderboy's also, again, 37 years old. Oh man, it's such a tough fight to call because I think Wonderboy's combinations, and if Geoff Neal doesn't compromise that movement early, Neal can be in some trouble. Wonderboy's also ready for 5 rounds. He never gasses out. Neal is still untested for 5 rounds, and I've seen him get tired a little bit in the past. Now, the safe pick is Wonderboy Thompson for sure, but I can absolutely see how Geoff Neal wins this fight, 100%. Geoff Neal also has a better clinch game, and he's also extremely powerful on top if he gets it to the ground. You know what? I'm going to go with the dangerous pick in this one. I'm going to go with the risky pick. I'm going to go with Geoff Neal. I'm going to go by a second or even third round TKO. I think he's going to land a lot of leg kicks early, and I think Wonderboy's going to move forward at some point where Geoff Neal's stalking him and pressuring him just to try to break some of that pressure, and Neal slips and counters Wonderboy, drops him, and finishes off with ground and pound. And now let's see the odds here. Ooh, I don't know about Carl Robertson being a 2.5 to 1 favorite over Dalcha Lungiambula. Lungiambula is moving down the middleweight. He's coming down from light heavyweight, where he only has 1 loss against Magomed Ankalaev, who is one of the best fighters in the light heavyweight division. No real shame in losing to that guy. I mean, it was a devastating knockout, but against a bigger guy, and also Magomed is on his way to be a top contender of that division. Carl Robertson is a more technical striker. He definitely has some power, but he's a bit of a plotter, and Lungiambula is way faster, way more powerful. He can also take it to the ground. He has devastating ground and pound. I might even lean to Lungiambula's side. And everything else I pretty much agree with. I'm a little bit surprised Wonderboy's not the favorite. It's almost a pick'em. It's practically a pick'em fight. But I would think that Wonderboy is a bit of a safe pick in that one. But if he is going to be a favorite, it would be like a minus 130, 120-ish. Kind of what Geoff Neal is. So I hope you guys enjoyed the predictions. If you did, make sure to thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Podcast coming up probably tomorrow or Sunday or Monday.